my name is Audrey Schatz and I'm a watercolor artist and a watercolor teacher. And I'm here at the shop today. I've got my curtain pulled because the shop is closed. I've got my setup right here ready for us with some good lighting. I've got a little sparkling water. Make sure you get something to drink, some tea, maybe light a candle, and let's paint. Okay, here we are, and today we have these sweet flowers. They're just sort of lined up like wildflowers in a field. I did this one as a sketch one day and decided it would make a great little tiny painting for us. So this is the first one that I did, and I decided, nope, we can do better. I switched to this one. You pick the colors that you want today, but I think a really fun aspect of this one will be things like watching yellow change to a light orange, darker orange, and even into a reddish orange, and see how the colors vary here as well. And we even let some wet paint touch. So this one will be fun. Let's go ahead over supplies so we can get started. I have just got a regular pencil, a kneaded eraser. Let me grab one. It doesn't leave shavings on your paper, so it's nice to have. We will be using ink over the top, so I have a regular felt tip pen, which is just fine, or you can use, this is an ultra fine point Sharpie, which I really like, but if you even just had a regular black pen like this, you're going to be just fine. And then if you want, you can have a spray bottle for your watercolors. This is the set I'm using today. Whatever set you've got is great. We'll be making paints, putting them onto puddles on our palette here, so I cleaned that off. Then I've got water and a towel. And that's it for our supplies. So if you've got those ready, we're actually gonna just jump right into it. I'm gonna try to line them up for you here. So let's just make a quick observation. I'm gonna zoom in for us. We've got 4 different stems here, and they all start at the bottom as if they're coming just ground up like wildflowers. And they all sort of have a straight-ish line running through them as well. And so why don't we start with this one here, just because we want to divide our space sort of in half and then work just to the right of that halfway line. And you can even draw a line through the center very lightly with your pencil first, if that's helpful. And then we'll just take this, let's start with our center line. We're pressing lightly. That's the most important thing about our sketching part. And I'm just going to sort of make a line that curves just a little and bends up to here. I'm going to leave some space up top, and then we're going to take and with our pencil create some little stems that come out and away. Now we want to stay pretty straight. We don't want to get too wide with it because we know we're going to fill that space next to it. So a couple stems out and away, and then either at the end of the stems or you can add more. We're going to create this shape of a leaf, and if you look at it, it's definitely almost, you know, they're all different, but this one almost has like a straight line at the end. And I was thinking about it, you could even do these like the shape of little pizzas. Isn't that funny? Like a slice of pizza, generally. And it's gonna work because it's gonna give you that straight part at the end, which I think is cute. But if you have a shape that you like, go for it. It doesn't matter too much. And I'm just gonna fill it in. So here's a gap, I'll add a little stem. And I'm gonna fill that one in too, trying to kind of reinforce that straight part on the ends of them, just because I like it. And I'm gonna leave this space for now just because I know I'm gonna bring in some big leaves, but you can fill it in now too, but because you're pressing lightly on your pencil, it'll be easy to erase. I'll say that a lot. So this one, if I were to lay my pencil on top of it, you can see that my line wasn't straight. Well, it's hard because I'm covering it, but that line is kind of this direction more than straight. That's okay. I want straight, so I'm gonna try for it. And as we do a straight line, we'll use the edge of our paper as our guide. But like I showed you, it doesn't really matter if it isn't. And I'm gonna make sure I've got space for this one here. So I'm kind of coming over this way. I'm gonna create a straight line, very light on my pencil, that comes up to about here at the base of the top, sort of tulip shape. And for this tulip, if you think about it like a rainbow, an upside down rainbow, and you can start up here, curve it down and come up. Notice it's straight on the sides, and then we'll just sort of curve it to connect. It does not matter. I'm going to leave it exactly like that to show you. I don't need to correct it, even though I see it's not like perfectly rounded here. That's okay. And then somewhere near the middle, I want to do that again. So I'm going to take it, same width as the top flower, scoop down and up, and curve the top. Something like that. They're imperfect, we don't care. And for this one, we still need those leaves on the bottom, so right at the base, and they're going to start at the same point. So is gonna curve out and up and then kind of curve back down. This could be any shape leaf, so don't get worried about it. We're gonna fill it in with some sort of a green color, unless you change that. It's all gonna work out. So I've got leaves at the base and I've got my 2 flowers, and then see their cute little palms. I love them. So let's start with the one on top. We want 3 lines, maybe different lengths, that I'll curve. And I kind of did one up and the others out those 2 directions. And I'm gonna add a circle to the top. Cute, right? Same thing here, and I'll just start with the line that I already have. 1, 2, 3. These can be wonky. Wonky's fine. Wonky's great even. This doesn't have to be perfect, but what I do want to do is get my eraser, which I put somewhere. Here it is. And I want to erase the line that goes right through my flower. So when you paint with watercolors, if I were to paint over that pencil, I would no longer be able to erase it. It just sort of locks it in. We got 1, we got 2. Let's get this one. And what I want to make sure is that I don't get too far over to the side, because I need space for these leaves on this side. So kind of splitting the difference here a little bit. I'm going to create my line first. You can curve it and wave it or try for straight. It doesn't matter. I'll do my loop at the top, and these are any shape you want. Any kind of loop that feels comfortable is great. Sometimes you'll find you can sort of loop over, loop back, and see they're at the same starting point. Do it again, and you choose the distance between the 2. You could, if you wanted it, you could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets plus a top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not needed, but if you want it to be the same. And then I like this one because it has 2 things. It has these bigger leaves, and then it has these 2 cute little tulips. They're very similar shape to this, but smaller. Once again, I'll try to come up somewhere near the center, and I just like to kind of naturally curve it, then you don't have to worry about it being straight. And we're gonna take and pull some of these stems over. So look at your reference, see the stem, come up and over. We'll do this one here, that's the flower. I'm looking at this, pull it out here. And it'll never be exactly the same as the previous one, and that's okay. So we're working within the space that we have. So you see this little one, I might take my eraser. Let's see what happens, and we'll get rid of it. And for a minute, I'll put this here, and let's just try, if I did that leaf big right there, what I would end up doing is filling in behind, right? I just put these in those empty spaces. So we can always adapt. And here's one, I'm hoping that's big enough. And if it's not, I'll move this. So realize we're always moving things. You know, you're the boss of your art. Got that one. So I'm filling in these leaves. They're just bigger than the others is all I really care about. And that's just for some variation in our sizes. Here's one, it tips a bit. And I want my 2 flowers. So let's see, I can get this one here. Same as before, upside down rainbow, curve the top. And this one, I think I'll try. I'm gonna keep it tight right there, and I'm gonna make it work. Because it'll be a yellow or a bright color, I mean, if you choose, it'll stand out. I guess here's what I could do, is you see there's space to pull this one inside a little bit more. So I'll do it, I'll show you. Because sometimes we just need to embrace the fact that we're gonna have to adapt. Cool, we got it. All right, this is our sketch. So at this point, I want you to take a second with your eraser. If there's anything you want to move, this is when you move it, because then we're going to be working with paint and ink, and it's harder. So we're done with the sketch. I'm realizing I never told you about a paintbrush, which is kind of important when we paint, so that's actually funny. This is a Winsor & Newton size 10 round watercolor brush. We like it because it has the tip and it has the belly, which is what holds the water. And so that's what I've got for today. If you've got something similar, that's great. And we are going to start mixing up some paint puddles. Let's get these out of our way. All right, so if you've got your spray bottle, this is your time to use it. It's not necessary, it's just fun. So I'm gonna give it a few sprays. Usually it's maybe 6 or 8 sprays over here. And I'm going to dip my brush into my water, and I'm gonna grab a color that I want. So for me, this is a good pink, which is part of why I like this set. I'm gonna grab some of that, swipe it onto my palette, grab water and come back. So now this is a puddle. Okay, and that's kind of small. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger so we can see it better, and just because I can. Now see, it got darker. That means there's more paint in it. Let me see if I can get you a better view. So I'm gonna add water in watercolor. Water is what makes our colors lighter. Now I like this color, so I'm gonna leave it. and I need yellow. So I'm gonna clean out my brush fully, pressing into the bottom of my water jar. And I'm gonna pick a yellow that I like. It doesn't matter which one, so don't be worrying about that. I'll grab this, swipe it onto my palette, and then I'm going to add water. I want one of these to be kind of light because when I look at it, I'm going light, darker, darker, darker. So if I start too dark, I won't get the effect as much. So I just added some water to this puddle, nice light yellow. We can grab that yellow again and make a darker puddle. If you want, you can start adding a touch of orange to it, but just a little bit. However you want to do it. Right now, we want to get puddles, so I'm cleaning my brush in between. I started a light orange. We want puddles that go light, darker, darker, darker. So if you're doing blue for this, you'll do it with blues. You can pick any color you want, right? I'm going to get into these darker oranges. See that? So I think I'll probably just do 1, 2, 3, 4. If we change our mind while we're painting, that's fine. We'll just adjust our colors, but it's nice to start with a good setup. So let's get a good green. I don't know what you like for green. If you're working with a set like this, I just want you to realize I have 6 greens on this palette, but I can always mix colors to get even more. So for me, I'm gonna grab this green on the bottom, but I know I'm going to want to change it a little bit. You can grab a standard green and add just a hair of brown to it, and you're gonna get more of like a mossy, earthy color. So that's what I want. You pick your color you like. And I'm also going to, actually I'm gonna make it lighter because we want this effect where we have a light and we're gonna add darkness into it. So making it lighter by adding water, and then I'm going to get another green, and I don't really care about this one, I just want it to be darker. So I got this puddle right here. Notice, because I know I'm going to be loading paint into my light green, I don't need very much water on my second color. We'll talk about that as we get there. So now we need some blues, and we're gonna do the same thing that we did with our yellows. Same thing, we want some variety in here. So I want some sort of, pick the first blue that you like, just a blue that you like to use. Mine's kind of dirty, let me clean it off. Some sort of a nice blue color. Then I wanna do a blue mixed with green so that I get a teal. Some sort of an aqua. And we want to be able to see the differences when we create our paints right now, because if you can't see the difference now, you're not going to see the difference when it's on your paper either. I'm going to play with some of these other blues that I know are very different so that I see variety. So now I for sure go 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's great. And I might want a bluish green. Here we go. That's going to give us even more variety. So this is where you play. And this is where you see, oh, those are our colors, and that's how they're going to look together. I think we need one more thing. Am I right? A color for the leaves at the bottom of the pink tulips, and that's actually a color I've already grabbed, but I'm going to put it here. For me, this is a green that has more blue in it, and that's just for variety, so I see these and see the difference. All right, if you're not done mixing your paints, go ahead and pause it and mix them, because I want you to make sure you really like your colors. If you are done, we're kind of moving into the beginning of painting. This is a fun one. Okay, I'm hoping this is close enough. I'm still working on sort of what distance the camera should be. Usually I do this on a TV screen during classes. I think let's start with yellow, and that's just for the reason that your water jar is going to get dirtier as we go. So let's start with our lighter colors. So we'll take, I'm going to clean, my brush is starting out clean and dry, okay? I'm going to take this light yellow first. And now I don't need much. So that's how I'm limiting my water right here. If I had too much water, it's gonna feel out of control. But I'm going to just fill this bit in here. I might do 1 more, maybe even 2, and then I'm right away gonna start changing my color. And this is just a fun way to get variety, especially in florals. See right away, we can see the difference. And if I want to, I can touch the base of one of these, and you'll probably see 2 colors here as well. I'll get into this orange. Notice I'm not cleaning my brush because I know I'm wanting that slight color variation, and I know I'm going light to dark, but you can clean your brush between. And for most colors, you do need to do that. Also notice I'm not worrying too much about staying in the lines. Okay, I've got this one. These are on the verge of too much water, but since we're just gonna work around, they'll be able to dry. I'm going to do 1 more like that because I see I have 2 layers left. So the same color, and then I'll touch the next color to the bottom. So I see a little bit of pull. Isn't that so fun? And then for this last one, I want to fully get into that sort of reddish orange. I didn't do the stem. We're gonna do that with ink later. And that keeps these separate. If I touched them all the colors are gonna blend, and it might be cool, but it might be not. And that just depends on how wet it is and how much water you have. This way we keep control because they're separate puddles. Okay, so let's stick with our yellow for a minute and do these teeny tiny little palms, which I love. Pick whichever yellow you like. And if you don't like yellow, like, don't forget, I might say a color, but you're the boss of your art. And we're just gonna, remember, we need very little. The tip of my brush is in this little puddle. And I'm gonna fill this in. I don't care too much if they're perfect. You don't have to. Like, you get to decide if you care, I guess, but we're gonna do ink on top. It's gonna be great. So we've got those. Now we're onto these flowers here. And since in this one they're yellow, that's what I'm gonna do. And I might mix these two just because I'm taking water from one, but we just need a little bit of yellow for this. We don't want your water to be out of control because we're gonna add in a second color. So I'll fill these, and you can do one at a time if you want more control. Otherwise, I filled them both in. Now you want to see the light reflecting, but you don't want to see puddling or pooling. That'll be too much water. From here, I think I'm going to take a little bit of this dark color and just touch it to the bottom. Now, if you have too much water, it's going to take over. So that's perfect. Just a little bit, right? We just want to see a tiny bit. Maybe just, and notice I touched it. I did not paint it and blend it. I'm letting the water do the work there. Oh my goodness, look at us go. I love this one. I think it's so cute. Let me get a little closer. Okay, we can't paint next to something that's wet or our colors are gonna bleed. So I'm gonna find something not attached. So to me, why don't we go to this one here because it's just not touching. And remember how fun it was to kind of change our colors here. Here we did light to dark. Here, let's do anything we want. So grab any color. I'm just gonna start with one of them. And also look right here, I have a spot. If you have space, my brush is in my mouth. You can pull here, add another one. I just decided to do that so I have more fun to, like, more space to play in. See, that went out of the lines, that's okay. I'll do this one here, and then I'm right away changing my color. So I don't wanna do more than two of the same color. Clean my brush, grabbed a new color. Working up here. If they're too similar, you could do a couple things. You can darken one, or you can lighten one, or you can mix your colors. But since they're already there, I just kind of think, what's quick? I'm cleaning my brush, and I decided, you know what I need in here is some of this light green too, so I'm grabbing another one. But you can work with in your puddles, or you can always kind of, so notice I touched the light green to this. Now we've got two colors. You can always adapt and adjust as you're there if you don't like what you're seeing. That's part of art, is you make these changes in the middle. No one knows that you changed it. They didn't know your intent in the first place. Isn't this so cute? But one thing I learned when I decided I'm gonna study art and see what I like about art, what makes me like a piece of art, is that I really like these color variations. I like to see several similar colors next to each other. And look, I'm gonna touch that blue to the bottom of the green. If I do that, I just need to make sure my second color has very little water. One more color, I'm gonna go for kind of dark. So I actually just grabbed another one and mixed it in, and here I go. The reason we have time to mix paints is that these are all separate. You know, nothing's gonna happen if they dry at different rates. You can see this one already started to dry before the green went on, and that's okay. You'll see markings because of it, but it's not a problem. All right, I want you to remember that if you paint next to wet paint, it's gonna bleed. We're gonna be careful for that. You could dry it if you wanna be safe. Don't accidentally bump it. It's so easy to do. And I wanna, for fun, get into these tulips. So I'm going to grab my pink, and still all of this is small, so I don't need my brush full of paint. So I'm just doing the first, like maybe third of my brush, and then I'm gonna fill in here, and I'm just kind of filling it in. You see how there's too much water? I will adjust that in a moment. Got this here. Now I'm gonna take my brush, touch it to my towel, and lift up some extra. See that? And it took some of it off. I used my brush sort of like a sponge. And then that's gonna dry. I'm gonna clean my brush because we're still going. I'm gonna do this one next just because look how close that red is to that leaf. I wanna give it another minute to dry. So make sure you like your color. You can adjust it. I wanted to add a little bit more green into it. And remember, we want 2 grains. So I've got this one ready. This one's also ready. I can see it's nice and shiny, ready to be used. And I'm gonna start by filling in the leaf. And this is kind of similar, but it's just a little bit bigger. I'll do 2 of them. And then I'm going to not clean my brush. I'm gonna go right into that dark green paint and touch it to the bottom. Touch it to the bottom. You get those really beautiful color bleeds. So now I'll clean my brush because I want the light green back. I'm gonna fill in this. And I like to do 2 at a time, but it's safer to do 1 at a time because it needs to be wet still for this soft blend to happen. There we go. Clean my brush 1 more time so I can come back to my light green. Now, if these were wet and they were to touch, like, it's okay. We probably would love it. But if you didn't want them to, I just want you to know, like, technique-wise, just don't work next to something wet if you don't want your colors to bleed. These might bleed. I'm going to wing it. I'm going to see. So I'm going to grab one of these greens that I made up for these leaves. I just sort of made sure it was nice and ready. And I'm going to fill in this. So all we're doing is working around, just sort of having fun with it on this one. We've got little bits of wet on wet technique, but that's it. Even here, I'll just show you. I'll clean my brush. I'm going into lime green, just the paint, not a puddle. And I'm gonna add some of that to the top and we'll get even 1 more color variation, which is so fun. Here, I just cleaned out my brush. I'm going to quick dry it. So if you have a heat gun, let's see here, something like this or hair dryer, you can give it a quick dry. Otherwise you can wait. And then we're gonna do our ink. If you dry it and it curls up like this, you can just gently roll it the other direction and it'll sort of straighten it out for you again. Okay, so now I love this part. I love all of it, I'm not gonna lie, but we're getting to the part. I'm gonna move my paints out of the way and you're gonna choose which ink that you want. And I think for today's sake, so do you see this one here? I think that's a felt tip pen. This one here is an ultra fine point Sharpie. I like that little bit of thickness. I like a bolder contrast. So I will use the Sharpie today. And we are gonna start outlining. You're gonna go right over your pencil first. I like to kind of go left to right. It doesn't matter though. And then we'll go from there. So let's begin. Let me zoom in a little. Now we're just hanging out, going over our lines. I hope you're having a good time with this. Yesterday, so I have 5 kids and my 2 oldest are in college, so they're home for the summer. And I got into the pool after going grocery shopping with my 12-year-old and my 20-year-old. And I just played for like 2 hours. And I need you to know that we played pig and I won every single time and they couldn't believe it, which was very satisfying. But I was so happy that I chose fun. I chose to do something for myself. I could have cleaned the house, I could have meal prepped, and instead I got in the pool and I did not regret it 1 minute. So I'm glad you're here doing something like this today, and I just love the idea of choosing fun things and making them a priority. So we're just filling it in. And have fun with it. You can go exactly over your pencil lines, or you can use this moment to sort of clean up your work. I notice I left a gap right there, and I actually like it, so I'm gonna leave that. Just kind of go with your gut on this part. We could have painted our stems with a very thin line of watercolor paint, but it's just optional. You might try it next time. You might do this whole thing again and do it with a thin line of, green paint or whatever color the leaves are. But to me, I just sort of like the cleanness of this, and getting those really thin lines can be tricky. So this way you don't have to worry about that. And I like to always say, like, there's no test. No one knows when you used a pen or you used a brush when it's these little fine, tiny things. I have turtles in a tank, and I had to add water to their tank before we started because it was splashing so loud. I thought you might be confused by your loud water feature. Okay, I've got everything filled in. All I did so far is what was already in pencil, and then now I want to go through and see, do I want to add anything? So I love these little lines, for example, on the leaves. Those are going to follow the center, the bottom center of the leaf, and come out and away with a curve. Bottom center, out and away, sort of right in the middle. For this stem with like the blue ones, do you see how I just did 3 little dots on the bottom part of the leaf? That was for fun, and I'm glad I did it, so I'm gonna just repeat that. And it's these things that just they just add interest. Oh, look, I forgot one. This happens all the time. You wouldn't believe how many people do an outline and then forget just one part. And these are the same thing, out from the bottom center, up and away with a slight curve. And you notice I'm not even finishing the curve. Then I don't have to decide where to finish it at either. If you see anything else that you want to do in here, totally go for it. This variation, do you remember this? I had done this one, and it has like other really cute types of flowers too. Oh, look, I never even outlined this part. But this one I think is really cute with like on the stems of the little tulips, you can do little tiny leaves coming out. You can screenshot this one if you want to, and then add this when you do your next piece. This just has bigger leaves, these ones that are sort of a circle, so they'll start with an oval on the top and then scoop down. But thanks for hanging out with me. This was fun. I'm really enjoying it. I'm planning on putting out a video at least each Wednesday, if not more. So stay tuned for the next one. Have a great day.